There we go. Okay, so it looks like this one's kind of the opposite of the one we had last time. Because last time we had one was a moment you felt safe. This one is describe a moment when you felt insignificant.
Every day of Jinku's life.
All right.
There was a time when I was, when Boo was about 6 or 7 years old, and Mix and I were playing, and the kind of, not like nursemaid, but like the woman who ran the house for the family pulled me aside and reprimanded me very sharply that my duty wasn't to play, that I existed purely to ensure Mix's safety. And she took delight in reminding me of that throughout my childhood. But at that moment, like, I realized that I don't mean anything, and I won't until I get rid of Mix.
All right.
Blossom's time he felt insignificant was his first day at the Coliseum. As a little whatever species I am.
Tabaxi.
Oh man, I haven't even started drinking yet and I can't remember shit.
You're a Tabaxi.
That I wanted to say Khajiit, I was like, that's not right.
Close
wrong
enough.
universe, wrong lore.
Same diff.
I mean, yeah, pretty much the same.
How about you, Zara?
It was probably the moment that her family abandoned her because they didn't think that she was worth the effort of keeping around or worth being able to carry on her family name.
Okay. And how about Mix?
I would say the first time Boo locked me in a closet to just try to get away from me for a while when I was a little kid. He used to trick me all the time into rooms, just lock me in there when nobody else was around and laugh.
All right. Thank you for that. All right. Anybody want to catch us up to speed on what you guys got up to last time?
I mean, really, the only thing that matters is that we have to save our orphan.
Activate the Guardians of Waterdeep. We did we fight the flying cat thing last time? Is that where we started last session, or?
I think we started going up into the mountain.
Yeah, we got up into the mountain to find the monk.
Climbing the mountain.
Killed some guys from. Were those guys from the Xanathars, or were they from the Zentrum? I think they were from the Zentrum. The Zentrum had captured it, but he didn't know or care really. But he gave us some info. We went back to the Blackstaffs, or the for the Grey Force, and then when we left there, we found out one of the kids got taken, and then we ran to where the general area of where they said, the Chitlin was but that's where they said they lost him or what have you. And I think that's where we ended. I'm not sure. I'm fuzzy on the details towards the end of last session.
I think you're right. I think that's where we stopped.
Yeah, we got back from the mountain after talking to the monk, went to the tower, relayed to them what the monk told us.
Had a big fucking info dump at the tower.
And got a lot more info about a lot of stuff, including I guess mostly about the family we did that favor for.
Castellanters.
Yeah. And then when we left the tower, that's when we ran into Nat and Jinx, who said that Squidly had been taken.
And now a bitch is gonna die for taking our kid.
Yep.
No, we don't need to kill him. We need to kill anybody.
We might.
We'll see about that. All right.
All right.
We'll see. We'll see.
So Squidly got kidnapped. Nat and Jenks had come running after you
no.
guys.
First, we need to interrogate them
Yeah.
via torture.
We haven't
Find out
really-
who's working for. Those people are the ones who gotta die.
So, at least from what Nat and Jenks were able to find, we're trying to follow them. They had seen the kidnappers that had taken Squidly kind of head into the trades ward. And last we left off, you all had been. Let me share. You all had headed down to the trades ward, and you were kind of around where like the high road and the river street meet, which is over by the river gate on the eastern side of town. And you were kind of looking around there trying to get info about if anybody'd seen anything, that sort of thing, and such. That's where we left off.
I see Felzoon's Folly on the map. Is that a place that's familiar to us here?
Yes, this was the tavern where, when you did that quest to help the lady with the bookstore, with the horrible abomination on the second floor, that was the tavern where she was kind of sobbing into a pint. Her place is somewhat near here. She's on Sorn Street, where you fought the... can't remember the name of it as what it was, but it was the some nasty demon shit. Can't remember the name of the creature off the top of my head right now. But yeah, that was right around this area as well. So you would at least recognize that and that street at least, because you've been up there doing some stuff before for the Harpers.
Okay. Well, guys, what do you think here? This is where they were last seen. Where should we start knocking on doors? Is there any area that looks like shadier than others, I guess, maybe? Or anything that looks suspicious?
Sure.
Looking down here?
Go ahead and roll a survival check for me. And we'll see if you kind of notice anything at all. Okay. So you kind of look around the river street there, and you're also kind of looking a little bit up kind of Salabar Street towards Felzoon's Folly, just because you kind of recognize the place from before. And like the side streets here are like, some of them are in a bit of a rougher shape, kind of more dirt than they are kind of the nicer cobble that you get on like the main streets of Waterdeep. But like this whole kind of chunk of town down here, it's not like really bad, but it's like a little seedy. Um, I mean, a lot of the trades ward, aside from like some of the major market areas, are somewhat kind of iffy. Um, but you notice at one point, kind of on the corner of Salabar and Sorn, you kind of see in the mud what kind of looks like the markings of someone being dragged or something being dragged. Like you kind of just see the indications of there were like some legs and they were being pulled along, kind of around the corner in that mud, but it kind of trails off just because it gets to another part of the street that has like some stones again. But it seems like something got dragged around the corner there fairly recently.
Come on, guys, this way. I'm not the best tracker in the group, I think, but if we got somebody who can help us, or if you guys see anything suspicious, um, but I see this scrape in the mud. It looks like somebody got dragged this way, and I know the kids wouldn't go down without a fight. I'll head that way, motion the rest of the guys.
Who would be the best tracker? Would that be like investigation?
It'd be kind of a mix between like survival and investigation, typically for tracking type stuff.
Nix is going to investigate these tracks as we're walking along to see if he can tell more about the size of the person being drugged.
Sure. Let's see. All right. So Mix, you kind of take a closer look at these kind of drag marks through the mud. And you see that, kind of alongside them and kind of mixed into them in some spots, you see kind of, typical kind of adult-sized shoe print of some kind. And then the drag marks, they are fairly narrow. So it doesn't really seem like the size, the width that it would be for an adult-sized leg or foot being dragged through the mud. So you feel pretty confident that these marks are from a small child. At the moment, in terms of the time of day right now, so it's currently kind of like mid-morning as you guys are around here in the trades ward. So there's there's people about, there's beggars about, there's maybe a few small shopkeepers kind of setting up their little stands and things. It's kind of a general morning city hubbub. As you guys are all kind of standing around, looking at the ground somewhat intently, Zara, kind of old-looking dwarf, kind of reaches out to you from the shadows, kind of jangling a little cup in your direction. It seems you guys are kind of lingering on his corner, and so he's trying to get your attention.
I take out a couple copper pieces and put them in his cup.
Thank you kindly, lass.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Fair, ask away.
I don't suppose you saw a man with a tiefling child recently, have you?
And he kind of thinks for a moment and he says, well, I was sleeping on me roll over yonder against the building earlier this morning, and there was some rather loud footsteps kind of rushing past. Didn't really get a good look, I can say, but there was I want to say it was there was a man and a woman, and they had, something short behind them that they were kind of dragging quickly through the mud. Didn't really get a look, but they kind of disturbed my sleep, and I just remember waving them off and turning back and taking another snooze. But they went around up Sorn Street somewhere and then disappeared out of sight.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right?
I relay this to the rest of the party and gesture towards Sorn Street.
Are the drag marks still evident in the street? Like, can we follow them to wherever house we built? Or
I mean, you could try to take a look around. Like, the streets here, like, they're somewhat worn down, so they're a mix of, like, there's some cobble, there is some dirt and mud and stuff. And so, like, the marks that you were seeing on the corner, they went around the corner on a Sorn Street, and then there was another part of the street that had cobble on it, and so you kind of lost the track there as it went onto the stone. But you could probably, try taking a look further up the street and see if there's any other muddy spots that they happen to pass through.
Quick's gonna do that. He's gonna start running down the street looking for any spots to see if he can pick up this trail again.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an investigation check for me. All right. So you kind of make your way up Soren Street, and for a good while, there's kind of some rough hewn cobble of the stones below. But you see again, you kind of catch out of the corner of your eye. There's a street that goes off of Soren Street to the south, and you see kind of just at the entrance of that intersection, there's another kind of muddy spot that seems to have a similar drag marking heading south down this kind of alleyway.
Mix is gonna start waving everybody towards him and start going down the street looking for somebody he can talk to or more marks on the ground.
Okay. So you all head that way and kind of start heading into this alley just south of Sorn Street. Brindle Alley is where you guys are at right now. As you guys are kind of walking around in here trying to find more signs of anything, all of you go ahead and roll a perception check for me. Okay. All right. So you all are kind of poking around the street here, kind of looking at the ground, seeing if there's anything else you can see. Zara, you're kind of Zara and Boo, you're kind of on the side of the street, and you're kind of going along next to a building, and you kind of hear this kind of muffled sound of kind of a gruff voice. You kind of hear some sounds of movement and kind of a like, stay still, damn it. And you also hear like some clattering, and then much to your surprise, like kind of above you, like there's a small, pretty dusty window that suddenly just comes bursting outwards into the street. And you see Squiddly come flying through this window, his hands still tied behind him. And you hear from inside another gruff voice saying, "Hey, get back here, you little bastard!" And he kind of careens out the window, kind of landing in the kind of mud and stone here of the street. Kind of looks up and sees you all and says, "Oh, well, get him!" And he kind of runs off as fast as he can up towards the north. Let me get you a map here. You kind of hear a door open, kind of not too far away. You can't see where the door is, but you hear a door kind of slam open quickly, and like a rush of feet coming out from behind this alleyway here. Let me get this shared. Oop. Drop you into the map here. All right. One second. Oops. All right, there we go. So you hear this door crash open, and this kind of rush of feet, a pair of feet or a couple pairs of feet, kind of running out from behind. And Mix, you kind of turn to see behind you. There's kind of a very small, kind of junk-filled, thin alley that leads to the north behind this house here. And you see like a foot coming around the corner. Everybody go ahead and roll your initiative up. All right. So, Boo, you are up first. Squidly's just come careening out of this window. And the window's not on this particular map here, but the window was just above Zyara there, that he came smashing through, and he ran off to the west side of this map, around the corner, probably to try to hide. But you're hearing this clatter. You've got these footsteps coming around the corner here. From where you are, you can't quite see anyone yet, but you see Mix looking in that direction at least. So, what do you do?
All right, it looks like he jumped out of that window. Let's try and figure out a way to get in that house. Remember, take him alive, guys. We need to have a chat. And then I'll hold my turn until I see like an enemy, and then I'll attack if I see an enemy with Toll the Dead.
Okay. Blossom. If you're there and not cooking. All right, we'll hold on Blossom for a moment. So, you hear...
Did it. I'm here.
Oh, you're back. Okay, sweet. Blossom, go ahead.
Like, I got a wireless headset. I can always hear.
Oh, okay. You're just in the other room. Okay. Fire away.
Okay, it's my turn.
It is your turn.
Let's see. Is that alleyway? That alleyway looks blocked by a bunch of boxes.
It's not like fully blocked, but there's a bunch of junk in there. It's still passable. A little difficult to get through, but yeah, there are some boxes there. They don't completely block it though. It's just kind of awkward.
But you say Squiggly went to the west, huh?
North.
Well, west.
I thought he went north.
It's
No, west.
the map is north is technically west on this map. Ignore the
What? Moog.
It's turn.
Come on, look. Look, the top of the screen is always north.
Ignore the
Moog, come on.
direction
I've
of the map.
already put away 3/4 of a tumbler of straight vodka. Come on, don't fuck with me like this.
I haven't been drinking, but you know I'm bad with directions, so don't fuck with me like this.
All right. He went west. We'll say it's west, even though it's not.
He went that away.
Shut up, Meg.
Fuck off.
All right. So, yeah, squiggling around to the west, and you hear footsteps coming from the north behind this building. It's like a 2-story building, kind of a typical, somewhat rundown Waterdeep house.
All right, well that's as far as I can move, and I don't see any other choice but to go that way.
Okay. You're gonna do anything besides move?
At this point, yes, I'm going to finish off my tumbler of vodka.
All right. So, you hear behind the house.
Do I need to roll for that?
You don't need to roll for drinking your vodka. You're good. You pass. You successfully drink your vodka. All right. So you hear from behind the house, like some more footsteps, and you see, or at least Blossom, you can see from where you're at because you're kind of filling up the, or kind of blocking the alleyway here with yourself. You see kind of a rough-looking male come around the corner here, and you hear him kind of turn to his companion, which you can kind of see about half of her around the corner, and he kind of turns to her and says, "Everine, looks like we are company." And he kind of raises his sword, or raises his mace, sorry, in kind of a ready position from this corner facing you, Blossom. Which brings us to Jinku.
I'm gonna move up to the corner of the house here, and then if anybody who's not our party comes into view, I want to try to grapple them.
Okay. All right, Zyara.
You skipped Mix.
Oh, I did skip Mix. Oops. Mix.
It's okay. Everybody forgets about me.
I didn't.
I know. I'm gonna move up here. Can I possibly get a shot off
Yeah.
by Blossom's head?
Yeah, you can get a shot off past Blossom.
Is it just the guy I can see, or can I see the girl too?
You can see both, but the girl would be in cover, so you'd have disadvantage.
Oh, I'm firing an Eldritch Blast at that dude, just to wake him up a little bit.
All right, fire away. That hits. All right. All right, so your Eldritch Blast kind of arcs up this alleyway here, crackling over these boxes and kind of various refuse and junk, striking this guy in the corner pretty decently too. And you see him kind of bring up his mace as this is kind of arcing towards him to try to block it, but it kind of strikes his hand on his where he's holding his mace, and it kind of shakes. He kind of manages to keep a grip on it, but it seems to shock him pretty decently. All right. Anything else, Mix?
No, that guy just has no idea what's about to happen with that mace.
All right. Zyara. Dusting yourself off from some window glass.
Well, clearly there's something going on that side of the building. So I'm gonna go over here. Wait. Okay, yeah, I can probably make it like. I'll just go to Jinku because I don't think I can make it where I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I guess I'll prepare Sacred Flame in case an enemy comes into my eye line.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to... Let's see here. All right, so this woman, she seems kind of, at least from what you can see, Blossom, like she seems to be kind of dressed in somewhat roguish attire. She's got kind of a hooded cape, that kind of thing going on. Not quite as cool as your cape, but, you know, still a cape. So she raises a hand crossbow from kind of underneath her cloak, pointing it in your direction. And fires, completely missing. And that hand, or the bolt from that hand crossbow, goes pretty wide and bounces off some of the kind of junk on the left-hand side of this alleyway, and then kind of thuds into the dirt, kind of harmlessly. Which brings us back around to Boo again.
He's just gonna look at the dude with the mace and be like, "You and your lady have made one big mistake," and he's gonna fire off again.
Boo, it's Boo's turn, not Mix's turn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I know you wish you could be me, Mix, but
You're good. We'll get to your Eldritch Blast.
okay. I'll try and toll the dead, but it didn't work.
Didn't work. Okay, that bell does not.
So then I'll step out of the way too after doing that.
Okay. All right, Zayara. You're kind of huddled up behind Jinku here against this house.
I'm gonna move over towards Boo with my spell still prepared.
Okay. You want to fire that off at anybody? You could kind of get a view on... You can see the gal pretty clearly from here. The angle you're at.
So I could probably fire it at, like, Averine?
Yeah, you could fire it at Averine.
Okay, sure. I can do that.
All right, go ahead and roll that. Nice. So your Sacred Flame descends on Averine here, kind of singeing her a bit. You can see her kind of waving the flames off of her from under her cloak here as that comes down. Jinku.
I will kind of say to the people close to me, like, we need to lure them this way so that I can tackle one of them. And I'm going to hold my spot and so that they don't see me, so that when they do come, I can try to tackle one of them.
Okay. All right. Averine, once again, raises her hand crossbow here, firing this, and once again, completely failing. Wow, double automatic miss. And that once again just kind of bounces harmlessly off the sides of the alley here. You can see her, she kind of smacks on the top of her hand crossbow in frustration a bit, seemingly trying to knock some sense into it. The other man, seeing these misses and kind of looking up the alley and seeing this kind of increasingly larger group of people that he can see, turns to Averine and says, "There's too many of them. I don't think it's worth it." But he raises his crossbow at Blossom, and he misses as well. And then he kind of, you see it, you see him kind of tap Averine on her shoulder, and he disappears out of sight. You see him move to the right and then out of sight. Blossom.
All right. Up. And I'm gonna smack this guy with my axe.
Smack away. All right. So you swing with your great axe here, and Everine manages to kind of deftly lean backwards, dodging out of the way of that swing. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Mix.
Mix has just got to shrug at Jinku and run down the alley. He doesn't want these people to get away, so you can see if you can figure out where this dude ran off to.
Okay.
As I get closer, can I see like a doorway or something he went into? So I'll leave her to everybody else to go after this bastard.
As you kind of get up here next to Blossom, you don't see, like, you haven't heard any other, like, doors or anything happening. Just, like, some footsteps. And at least from where you're at, you can kind of make out his shoulder. He seems to be kind of moving up another kind of narrow alleyway heading to the north behind these kind of ramshackle houses.
Can I get around Blossom and start going down the alleyway after him?
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 feet of space around, so you can squeeze past Blossom here. If you're going past Averine, she'll take a swing at you.
Oh, that's fine. Mix is pissed.
Okay. All right, so Averine. 1 second here. All right, so Averine, she, as you're kind of trying to squeeze past Blossom here and make your way around the corner, you see kind of a flash of metal as kind of Averine reaches into her cloak and pulls out a short sword and tries striking at you with that. And then, unfortunately, that misses, and you manage to kind of dodge out of the way of that short sword swing. You see that metal coming flashing out of her robe, and you kind of flatten against the wall as you go by, missing you there. Let's get this back in the right order.
Is this guy within melee range of me now?
Oh,
Like,
so,
can I
oh, sure. Let me show you. So he is straight in front of you at the other end of this little short alleyway before it turns to the north. All right. So you let off this Eldritch Blast. That again strikes. Go ahead and roll that damage. All right. Dealing 8 damage to him. And you see him kind of, grab his arm here, trying to kind of brace against this, the pain from this Eldritch Blast coming into him. But he seems pretty determined to keep heading to the north. Which brings us to Averine. So she, sees you getting in here, Mix, and Blossom swinging at her. And so she turns and goes to kind of move up towards the alley as well. Both Mix, you and Blossom, you're both going to get attacks of opportunity against her as she goes to run away. All right, go ahead and roll that damage, Mix. All right, so you get a good strike into her as she's turning away, and we'll let Blossom do his great hits as well. Nice. Go ahead and roll that damage. Nice, dealing 14 damage. You guys.
Hey guys, just hitting them with my great axe. That'll just knock them out, right? Right?
No, hit him with the side of it, Blossom. Come on.
So you do manage to do a
That's
pretty
not
significant...
bloody.
It's not bloody.
We need one of them at least alive.
All right, so you guys both get pretty significant strikes in her. Like seems to be bleeding pretty heavily, but somewhat limply tries to make her way that way up the alley. She's kind of got some open wounds with some blood pouring out, like one on the back of her arm, and one kind of just on her back as well as she turned away from both of you. Which brings us to Mix again. Both of these two at the end of the alley here.
Oh, Mix is gonna do a running dive at Zorbog. Like he's just gonna dive straight into him. He's got a melee attack planned, but
Okay.
he's basically like football tackle style, gonna smack into this dude.
Okay. Are you trying to grapple him?
Oh no, I'm just trying to hit him and
right.
shock his ass at the same time.
All right. All right. I don't think you targeted the guy. There we go. All right. That hits. Nice. All right, so you come charging up the alleyway here at Zorbog, and there's this crackle of lightning as you kind of bring your hand down on him here. So combined with the Elder's Blast, he's had quite a shocking time these past few rounds, thanks to you. He isn't looking too hot, which brings us to him. You've gotten right up in his face here, and he reacts to your grasp here, kind of grabbing his, kind of lifting up his mace here, trying to smack sideways across you. So let's go target. Not Blossom. Stop targeting Blossom. There we go. Alright, and he strikes with his mace, kind of smashing it sideways across you. He kind of gets a decent hit kind of across your torso with it. You kind of feel a little winded there, Mix, as he smacks this into you, dealing 5 bludgeoning damage. And after this, he again tries to move away from you. Which, Mix, you're going to get another attack of opportunity here as he tries to continue running up the alleyway. And Mix gets a critical hit as he turns away. Roll that damage. Alright, so you bring your hand axe to him. So he's bashed you across the torso with the mace. Turns to keep running back towards the north. And you see him again kind of reach out to his companion here to try to direct her to come with him. And you kind of recover from this mace strike and just bring your hand axe down onto him. And he kind of collapses onto the ground with kind of a groan. Which brings us to Blossom. Seen Mix just take out the one guy, and then Averine's still here on the corner next to Mix. She looks... You can see kind of a look of shock on her face. Like she seemed to kind of have a fairly cold demeanor, but she seems a little taken aback seeing her companion here struck down.
All right, move up again and swing at this Averine.
Okay. That hits. All right, so you bring your great axe here down on Averine, striking pretty hard this time as well. She is not looking too good. You can see that she's kind of barely standing up in response to this. Do you do anything else, Blossom?
You know what? Yes.
Okay.
I'll rage.
You're gonna rage. Okay. All right. Let's see. What's this one? Oh, this one. Okay.
This one. Yes.
All
Why
right.
aren't the rest of you closer, damn it?
All right. Let me go ahead and roll some stuff here. 1 second. All right. All right. So, Mix, you take 1 necrotic damage as you see Blossom. He's struck at Averine here, and you see him kind of in this kind of almost bloodlust here, just kind of scream, and this dark energy kind of erupts from around him. You feel a little tingle and take a point of necrotic damage. Averine, though, seems pretty strongly struck by this, and you see her just kind of just her eyes roll back in her head, and she just kind of collapses onto the ground. And you, Blossom, give yourself 11 temporary hit points from that. All right. And with that, you guys are out of combat. These two are down. Blossom is very mad. And the rest of you are out here in the alley. You've heard quite a commotion, some lightning, some screams, some strange explosion noises.
I need somebody to come tie up this chick. Blossom's gone crazy. I'm gonna get the guy.
I'm on it.
Mix is gonna cast Spare the Dying on this guy as soon as he has him securely tied.
Oh,
As long
smart.
as behind his back.
All right. Just on the guy or on both of them?
Oh, she died. Is she dead too?
Oh yeah. They
Yeah,
both
I'll
got
cast
taken
him
out.
on both of them.
Okay. All right. And that just like stabilizes them, right? The Spare the Dying does. But they're still like unconscious or something.
I think they're regain consciousness, but they have 0
It
hit points.
says you touch a living creature that has 0 hit points and the creature becomes stable. That's all it says.
Okay, so I think they're still unconscious at the moment, but they're alive at least. So you guys, you kind of pile into the alleyway here and tie these two up, pretty bloodied and beaten as they have been at the hands of you guys. And you have them both kind of just sitting on the side of the alleyway here. They're still both unconscious, but you can look them over and they seem to be breathing at least for now.
Can I tell what building they came out of?
Yeah.
What I'm about to do, I don't want to do in the public eye.
Sure. So the building, like the door directly to the south of you guys, is open. That you surmise that that's the one that you guys kind of heard bust open, which makes sense since the window that Squiddly busted out of was the one on the south end of this building. Zyra, you and Boo, you guys are kind of out here in the street still, and after all this kind of commotion here, you see kind of Squiddly peek his head back around from the corner here, and it seems that he's, as he pokes his head around the corner, you can see him kind of rubbing his fists on kind of a stray tool that's kind of sitting around leaning against one of the buildings here, and gets the last bit of rope off of his wrists and walks over to you two and says, "Well, I think you guys got him. Thanks."
It would seem so. Are you okay?
I've been in worse scrapes in my time. They knocked me out back at the manor, and I guess they carried me down here or something. Not really sure where we are. But when I woke up in that house, there was another person in there that was all tied up too. But he didn't look so good. But I managed to. I've escaped from worse things before. I don't think they really thought. I don't think they really expected much resistance. But I've gotten myself out of handcuffs and and ties before. They didn't do a very good job.
I don't suppose they mentioned why they took you, did they?
No, they hadn't really asked me anything yet. I just woke up not too long ago. They kind of splashed some water on me and woke me up and were trying to tie me down a little tighter like the other guy in there. But I busted out before they could get anything. Not really sure what they wanted. Maybe you guys? Maybe.
Who knows? Many a strange things going on in this city. Why don't you go find Nat and Jenks and head back to the manor, get some rest? They're worried about you.
Okay. And so he kind of cheerfully kind of waves at you guys. And you see him kind of like hold his head for a moment. It seems just like he's still a little bit kind of dazed from getting knocked out and, smashing through a window. Even if it was a pretty cruddy old window. But he kind of makes his way to the west and then around the corner to go find his way back to the manor. What are you guys doing back here in the alleyway?
I'm dragging Zorbog into this house and looking for a table to bend him over. And I'll pick up his mace and carry it in with me.
And I'll be dragging the woman in.
I'm gonna tell the rest of the party that Squidly said there was someone else tied up in the house, and I'm gonna go inside and look for them.
I'll go with Sayara.
Okay.
Yeah, you might want to get them out fast. What's about to happen is not going to be pretty.
All right.
I'm going into the building.
So you all kind of make your way into this structure. In this first room here, I mean, this room seems to be somewhat of a living area. There's like a fireplace on the western side of the room. There's some tables that had some plates with some partially eaten food and things like that. There's a couple bedrolls against one of the walls. You also find those of you who are kind of looking around in this room, go ahead and roll an investigation check for me as you're poking around in this room of the house. All right. So you, Zara, Boo, as you guys are looking around, you find kind of a rolled small note sitting on kind of a small desk against the wall. And on it, it says a directive to Zorbog. And it's signed by somebody named Monsoon. And it says, it exhorts Zorbog to gather the usual gang and kidnap a known associate of these new meddlers in the grand game.
Meddlers in the grand game. I wonder if they're talking about us.
It seems like it.
It's the only explanation I can think of for why they would target Squidly of all people.
Moog, is there someone in this building to fight?
Well, there's another door in this building on the western side of this room that you haven't opened yet.
I'm charging in there.
All right. Blossom, you come charging through this door, and in this back room is kind of somewhat of it has kind of a rank scent of kind of old, dried blood. And you see that this room has various instruments of torture kind of sitting around in here, as well as an arcane circle painted on the floor in the corner. One of these instruments of torture appears to be a rack. And currently strapped to the rack is what appears to be a dwarf. He's wearing a leather skull cap on his head that is kind of stitched with these fake beholder eye stalks that stick out of it. And he seems a little bit delirious. You can see he's fairly wounded. It seems like he may have been here a while, being tortured. And as you kind of come busting into the room, his head kind of lolls in your direction, and he says, "Oh, I knew Xanathar would send someone to rescue me. Oh, thank the gods."
Ow.
So you kind of roar in his direction, Blossom, and he's
I was dark out of the room. I'm pissed. There's no one to fight.
okay. So you kind of let out this yell, and he seems somewhat frightened, and you leave the room. Let me get you a picture of this guy.
I'm gonna look around the corner.
I'll mumble to the party, prisoner.
Okay, I'll head in there.
Nix is gonna stick his head around the corner and get all happy seeing the torture devices, and the dude Zorbog's getting his ass drug in there next. Jinku, you want to hold the lady so she can watch? Maybe we'll get something out of him. I'm not gonna touch her. That would just, might be considered wrong.
Sure.
That might be considered wrong, but torture not so much. So, Zara, you go in here, and you see this dwarf tied up on this rack. And again, as you walk in here, he seems a little calmer. See, you look a little nicer, composed than Blossom did. But again, he kind of exclaims, "Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad Xanathar sent someone to rescue me here. I've been here for ages."
Well, I'm certainly prettier than Blossom. Well, it certainly looks like they've had you here for ages. What's your name, dwarf?
Ott. The name's Ott.
Ott, pleasure to meet you. Do you know who these people are that took you?
And he as you're kind of asking him these questions, he seems to be kind of glancing towards the the bindings on this rack here, being like, "You mind to let me out of here first?"
Sure. I undo the bindings on his, I assume, both wrists and ankles. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a rack.
Okay, yeah. I undo the bindings.
Okay. So you kind of let him down from the rack here, and he kind of lets out like a wince as he kind of gets down to the ground off of this thing. He kind of stretches his arms and legs a little bit, and you see him being like, "Oh, oof." He kind of adjusts his little beholder hat that he has. He says, "Well, thanks again. I can't. I knew Xanathar would come for me. These the damn Zents, of course. Is who they are."
Zeds. Do you know why they would want you? They took our friend as well.
Well, I don't know what they wanted exactly, but they kept asking me about where Xanathar kept the eye. I don't even know what the hell that is.
It seems a lot of the trouble we've been coming across lately has been caused by the Zents.
Yes. The Zents have... I mean, it's well you know the Zents have had a feud with us Xanathars. It's... bastards. Again, I can't thank you enough. But, who sent you to find me?
No one sent us. Like I said, they took our friend. Maybe you noticed him before he escaped, a young tiefling boy. we found our way here in search of him, and he let us know that you were also here.
And at this, he kind of grabs both sides of his hat here, and he says, "Oh, oh, oh, you're not with Xanathar. Oh, uh, Well, I thank you for the assistance. I mean, I'm sure. Thank you for taking out the Zents. I'm sure. Xanathar might be glad to have you and his crew. But if not, then I guess I'll be on my way and won't trouble you."
I would like to definitely take you up on that offer, dwarf.
And ignore the screams.
How is this building being lit, Moog?
How's it being lit?
Yes.
Answer carefully.
And there's the fireplace.
You be quiet.
And there's the fireplace in the first room there, and there's it's probably just some candles, like some candlesticks, being used elsewhere.
The last time you can throw this guy in the fire when I'm done with him.
Which, speaking of, maybe, Mix, we should get at it. Maybe everybody else could clear out.
Oh, Boo's gonna want to watch this. What do I have that I can string this guy up? There's a rack. What else is in this room? And I want a metal implement of some kind.
I'm going to turn to the dwarf and be like, "Here, let me help you out."
Are there
before they
any
get started."
rugs?
Any rugs? No. This isn't a very high end structure. There isn't really any floor coverings aside from just the wood.
Their decorator was cheap.
Come along, Ott. Let's get you out of here. It's getting a little crowded. Tell me more about speaking with the Xanathar.
Yeah, Boo and I are going to leave with the dwarf.
How many logs are in that fireplace?
God, I wish I knew where his mind was.
I don't think you want to know where his mind is.
I don't think I do either.
I'm raging. I'm pissed. There was no fight.
Well,
This place is going to
that's your
burn.
own fault.
No, it's going to
Raging at the
burn.
very end of a battle.
It is going to burn.
Not with me in it. Give me a minute.
Just
Or-
hold on.
Or this is how we give Quick his birthday present.
Oh, Jesus. There's plenty of like bindings and things in this room that you could, tie
Is there
these
any-
two up.
Like metal implements of any kind laying around?
I mean, yeah, there's like various pokers and stuff.
Ooh, I'm gonna grab one of the pokers. Try to string this dude up, and I'm just gonna yank his pants down, and the poker's going up his bum before I revive him.
God. Okay, we're not gonna get into detailed torture of people.
Thank you.
Oh, let me shock him a little bit first.
Moo,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you remind me of what the note said?
Which the note that you found in here?
Yeah.
Sure. The note that you found in here was titled "A Directive to Zorbog," and it said to gather the usual gang and kidnap a known associate of these new meddlers in the grand game. And it was signed by Monsoon.
In the grand game?
The grand game, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Alright, I'm gonna revive this dude for 16 hit points, just to get the information out of him.
Okay. So you revive this guy. I think it was you got him strapped to the rack that Ott was in. He kind of wakes back up, sees where he is, sees you. He kind of shakes in the rack, being like, "Hey, what the hell? I'm not telling you nothing."
Shocking grasp. And I'm just gonna be sure.
Damn right, I'm sure. I'm not
Okay.
betraying the sense.
All right, your choice. I'll just let my companion burn you all alive.
Dying for the
Blossom?
sense would be an honor.
Blossom, have fun, buddy.
Oh, I don't care about burning that guy alive. I'm just going to burn down this building. And with that, I'm going to take my great axe, put it in the fire pit, and yank all the burning logs out.
All right.
We might want to leave before.
And I'm going to huddle them up against a wall.
Yeah, we should probably definitely go.
All right. All right. So yeah, you kind of spread these burning embers over this house, and you see that it seems to go up in a fairly short order. It's not a very well kept place. There's lots of stuff around, things like that, and it seems that probably not before too long the whole place will be ablaze. And you guys are back out on the street here. You can see some smoke starting to come a little bit out of the window that Squiddly came through.
As I'm kind of running, I'm going to yell, "Fire!" And keep running like I'm looking for water.
Okay, so you guys are like running back out into like Sordoon Street, shouting about the fire.
Sure.
All right. All right, so you guys head out into the street here, and you kind of begin running down, shouting that there's a fire, and some of the various patrons and things that are around on the street are all kind of look up with a shock and being like, "Oh, where? Get the guard!"
And at that, Zyara kind of wants to get out of here.
You see some of like the patrons kind of running in a few directions on the street here. Assumedly probably going to get the guard to try to assist with this. Are you guys trying to book it out of the neighborhood then, I assume?
Zyara is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's not
I'm
getting
following
the
them.
guard.
I'm happy I did what I wanted to do.
All right. You burned a house. Okay, so you guys are running. You're running out. You kind of make your way back onto the main street. As you guys are coming out onto like the river road, you see a few kind of groups of guards kind of heading opposite direction of you into this alleyway here. Kind of looking behind you, you see, from like the center of that kind of little block of town, you can see that the smoke's kind of being more obvious now out of the location where that house was at. And you kind of hear some clamor and shouting, people yelling for water, people for yelling to save the structure. You hear a couple people kind of concerned about like their own homes and things like that are in the area as well. I mean, it's Tradesward. The buildings are all pretty close together, so hopefully nothing too much was taken out there. But you guys,
Blossom.
but you guys do manage to kind of make it back onto the high road and head your way back up through town. You do notice.
You guys were yelling for the guard, right?
Other
Wink,
people
wink.
were.
Yeah, the crazy bastards pulled the logs out of the fire.
So you do notice as you're kind of passing through the streets, especially like a lot of the main streets of the city, you see in various places what look to be kind of stands being set up along, like kind of like small grandstands of sorts, being kind of set up in various places along some of the main roads of town. That looks like they were, just starting to get set up this morning, uh, and you see them on a, quite a good chunk of the route as you're heading back up towards kind of Troll School alleyway. There's a fair number of these kind of small, maybe like 10, 12 person seat grandstands that seem to be getting set up all along the way as you're traveling northward.
Mix, do you think we should have tried a little harder to get some information?
Nick just kind of shrugs his shoulders, like,
I think we should have tried a little harder not to set fire to the building.
That was all Blossom.
Well, clearly.
Well, we took one of them alive, didn't we?
They
No
were
one's-
both in the building.
They were both in the building. No
She
one took
was
them out.
unconscious. He was tied up.
They were both unconscious, I think.
Well,
no,
no,
Mix
Mix
woke
woke
the guy up.
and tried to question him, but he wasn't going to have any of it. And then he left. And then Blossom lit the place on fire.
well, I didn't have any more healing left to wake the woman up, and I'm not about to torture a woman. So I didn't think Blossom would burn her alive.
Blossom likes fire.
I didn't.
Look, bad things happen when I rage. You guys really should not let me rage.
Yeah, because we have control over that.
You can try.
Man, crazy bastard attacked me.
I didn't attack you.
What are all these spots? Dying.
How'd you get those? You shouldn't play in, like, the swamp, dude. Bugs bite you.
Mix is like really trying to control not shooting Blossom with an Eldritch Blast on the way home.
All right. All right. So you do make it back up to the manor without, too much further incident. Especially once you get out of the trades ward, things seem to be just kind of typical. Aside from these grandstands you're seeing set up around. But there doesn't really seem to be any other kind of guard activity or anything once you get out of the trades ward area of town.
Blossom's not gonna let the spot thing go. Like, okay, I was being an ass and the swamp thing, but seriously, I don't know how you got those.
Mix is just gonna ignore him and keep walking.
So when you do make it back to Troll Skull, you do find the other, the urchins all there together. You do also notice one of the, one of the locks, like the locks on the front door to the place, seem to be damaged. So it seems like in the process of kidnapping of Squidly, they kind of busted in through your front door and grabbed him. But other than that, everything else in the place seems intact. It doesn't seem like anything else was stolen or messed with. It was just the front door that got busted through.
As soon as Jinku sees Squidly, she gives him like a huge hug because she's so happy to see him. Like so big that it probably cuts off his breathing a little bit.
All right. The rest of you up to anything in particular here as you arrive back to the place?
I'm just gonna grumble and go down to my little lab for some of the healing potions I made to see if this necrotic damage to me goes away.
Okay. All right. So as you are all kind of, back here at the manor, some of you are probably doing a little bit. The repairs to the front door don't seem too particularly difficult. You're able to do them yourself. Getting the lock kind of, or the metal around the door handles and the lock kind of back into place. Jinku, as you are, around with Squiddly or whatever else you're doing here in the manor, you notice a small slip of paper come under the door, and then you kind of hear some footsteps moving away.
I'll go pick it up.
Okay. So you pick up the small piece of paper, and looking over at it, the signatory on it seems to say that it is from the Harpers. And they mention that they have have need of your services in fairly short order. And if you want to have more information, to reply to this note and pin it to the exterior of the door frame.
Okay, I will do that.
Ooh. Should we set a trap?
No.
Let's set a trap. Let's set a trap. Let's set a trap.
No.
Let's set a trap.
I mean, you already know who the Harpers are. The Harpers they're a kind of one of the factions here in Waterdeep. But
wait, I've already helped them, dude.
Yeah, you guys have done a quest for them before.
Yeah, Jinku's a member of them, I think, isn't she?
Yeah, Jinku's a member of the Harpers. The quests that involve the old lady with the bookshop, that was.
Well, what the fuck? If you're a member, why are we having doing all this like hoopy jumping?
What?
It's okay, Blossom. We don't have you around to think.
All right, so yeah, you
What did I do?
You set a building on fire with people in it.
Bad people?
Yeah, before we could get information out of them.
They stole our kid.
And they burned to death for that.
Before we could get information out of them.
I was gonna at least electrocute them for a while. I need a nap.
Well, you guys could have used the fire to your advantage.
No.
You didn't try saying, we leave you in here, or you give us information, we drag you out?
All right.
I can't talk to you.
All right.
I don't recall any of that happening. I also don't recall starting a fire either, but you say I did it.
Yeah, Jinku's already walked away from you.
All right, so you.
I don't understand how I'm the bad here.
Well, with the time that it is at the moment, this would probably be a good spot to break for a quick bio and all that. And then we'll come back to this note that got slipped under your door here in 10 minutes or so. So let's do that, and then we'll come back and see what is gotten up to at that point.
Sweet, I need to refill my tumbler.
hold on, let me get this.
He's a
Blossom
guy
is
the dwarf told us
Yeah.
about last night, or earlier tonight,
What dwarf?
at the building you lit on fire.
A little building on fire?
You did.
Awesome.
No, it wasn't.
It sounds pretty cool. I don't remember doing it, but it sounds pretty cool.
All right. So in terms of Ott, so as you all were kind of fleeing the scene there, Ott was with you for a little bit as you kind of ran along, and he. Hold on, let me find some info here real quick. So in the course of the discussion with him, like he mentioned that if you were interested in joining the Xanathars, that he could take you to HQ and make some introductions if you wanted. And you guys did, or at least Boo, you had relayed to him, where you guys were at. So he may come around to the manor at some point and check back in with you. So we'll see on that front. So yeah, the note. So you responded to this and kind of pinned it outside the door frame there, Jinku. And probably about 5 minutes later, you kind of hear a message kind of coming into your head that states, let me pull it up here. Where did I put that? Okay. We need you to acquire a perfumed handkerchief from Maester Roderick Bartlethorpe in the audience at the Twin Parades, and deliver to Tiefling Girl in crate at corner of Net Street and Dock Street.
And I will tell the group what the message was.
This sounds too complicated for me. I'm good at killing stuff and fires.
Well, you're free to stay here.
I mean, there might be stuff to kill, but you guys should do the tricky stuff that's there in the note. Yeah.
Like getting a handkerchief.
I mean, honestly, Blossom was raised in a coliseum. He has no idea what the heck a handkerchief is. Is that a book?
Nope, you sneeze in it.
Sneezing is how you infect enemies' wounds.
That's one way to go about it. All right. So this handkerchief request that you've received. That's all the information that you got from this kind of message that you kind of had wafted through your mind here, Jinku. You notice that it mentioned this Twin Parades, which you aren't quite sure what that is, but perhaps you can find out.
Maybe the parade has something to do with all those stands they were putting up.
Would make sense.
I'm so glad we have someone intelligent along. I couldn't figure out what those were for, but I'm glad you could put two and two together.
Jinku just beams when he says that. No one has ever called her intelligent.
Well, you know what this mythical handkerchief is? I kind of want to see one now.
It's a piece
Is it
of
cool, like
fabric.
big axe?
No, it's
No.
just a piece of cloth.
Hey, hearing this, Blossom looks incredibly disappointed.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. We'll learn you something new that's exciting another day.
Okay, this perks Blossom up a bit.
All right. So what do you guys get up to with this? The info, the small amount of info that you have on this at the moment.
We should probably figure out what this thing is that it says this person's going to be at.
Well, I mean, at least from what you saw heading back up through town, I mean, it seems like something probably most of Waterdeep would probably know something.
Like where they would be, I guess, is what I'm having trouble trying to. We'll start asking people about this person, maybe. What do you guys think?
Sure. We sure as heck don't know who he is.
Is he going to be in the parade? Is that kind of what it insinuated, or are we expecting them to be a spectator?
Well,
what do you think?
It did say in the message that you got that in the audience at the parade.
Okay, so we're gonna have to find them, figure out where they're gonna be, and then take this handkerchief, acquire this handkerchief somehow. We could try and just offer them money for it. I don't know. Let's go find them. That's step one. We'll figure out step two later.
All right. Is there anybody in particular you go asking around at?
I'd probably go ask one of the neighbors. Like, I think the bookstore is pretty close to us, and I've been going there a bit. So I'd probably go ask the bookstore owner.
Okay. All right. So you head out of Troll Skull and head down the street over to Rashal's place, the Bookworm, and make your way inside. Rashal's kind of busying himself behind the desk, and they look up as you come in and be like, "Oh yes, back for more books, is it?"
Well, yes, I do need information, but unfortunately, I don't think the information is going to be found in a book. This is more something that is found from someone who's familiar with Waterdeep, which I am not. I just had a simple question for you, if you don't mind.
Certainly, ask away.
Are you familiar with the name of Jinku? What was it again?
It is Maester Roderick Bartlethorpe.
Are you familiar with the Maester Roderick Bortlethorpe?
So Rishal kind of thinks for a moment and says, yeah, the name does sound familiar. Usually he's, I believe he's usually involved in the Twin Parade organization each year. He's usually somewhat of a, like he doesn't lead the thing, but he's usually rather involved in the planning and execution of the parade. So he's kind of a parade master of sorts.
Oh, I see. Huh. All right, then.
I mean, it does take quite a bit of funding to run the twin parades every year, and he's he likes to use his wealth to kind of benefit the city and help fund the parade each year, which I believe is what kind of got him his spot on the committee that plans the parade. I don't really know for sure what he does, if it's just the money and just the position because of that, but he's usually in kind of a position of prominence with the parade each year.
Yeah, having a lot of money will do that. Get you in places, won't it?
Yes, it will.
Well, all right then. Thanks for the information. I appreciate your time, and I just kind of wanted to wish you a good day. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, and a good day to you as well. I hope if you're not familiar with Waterdeep, I take it you haven't seen the twin parades before.
I have not. No, none of us are familiar with it. Well, I think Zyara here is a denizen of Waterdeep, yes, but so she might be familiar with it. I personally, and Jinku and my friend Mix here are definitely not.
Well, it is quite a sight to see. I mean, it takes up a good portion of the city. It's a celebration of Saloon, the goddess of the moon, and the deep Seychelles of the Seldarine, the elven god of the sea. And there's a parade of ships that happens out in the harbor part of Waterdeep. And then there's also a parade on land that leads from the dock part of Waterdeep all the way up through town to the market, the large market square over on the northwestern side. And it's usually quite a sight. They usually have a wide array of magics and automatons and interesting creations that they show off to celebrate along the whole width of the route.
Well, that sounds like quite a spectacle, and this is every year? Man, that must be kind of expensive.
Yes, it is quite expensive, but much of the exhibitions that come along with the parade are provided by the various temples and guilds and organizations in Waterdeep. So they all kind of play their part as it all comes together. It's a bit of a community celebration of sorts. I mean, it is quite a bit of funding, but the community does come together each year to put it on.
Huh. Well, that's a neat. I'm excited to see this part of Waterdeep's history. Thank you for informing me.
Certainly. Well, if there's anything else you need, you can always come back and ask.
Thank you. Well, guys, oof. And I'll kind of lead them out. When I take over Waterdeep, just FYI for you guys, we ain't gonna be having none of this parade bullshit. It's a waste of government funding. I will spend it on better items.
But
Yeah, parades
such
are
an
pretty
excellent
pointless.
opportunity to steal from people.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have lots
mean-
of large public gatherings, just not parades and things like that.
That works for me.
All right. The rest of you up to anything at all? Well, Quick's over, or all Boo's over here at the bookstore.
Did anybody come wake up Mix? I mean, he went to take a nap. Did anybody wake him up?
No, I don't think we did.
No, we don't wake you up from naps.
That's probably a good plan.
We did the note thing and then immediately went and started doing that.
I can go wake Mix up.
Well, yeah, I guess you didn't leave, did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So you two can entertain each other.
Do you want Blossom to die?
I mean, I plead the fifth.
I'm gonna go wake Mix up.
Well, Mix, that is up to you to how you react to being woken up.
I'm gonna wake you up in the traditional Colosseum way.
What is that?
I was just gonna stand by you and take my great axe and just clunk the end of the handle on the floor until he wakes up.
All right.
It sounds like you want to die.
It's alright, he's got a weapon ready.
Jeez. All right. So, Boo, you come back from the bookstore with your information in hand. So you know a little bit more about the twin parades, at least, and a little bit more about Maester Roderick. But probably the exact zeroing in of the location you haven't quite gotten yet, it seems. You also don't really know when exactly this thing starts.
Yeah, didn't bother asking about that.
Well, it's a big event. There's probably like flyers or something around, you'd think.
Or you could easily ask anyone setting up one of the stands.
That's true.
Or probably just any citizen of Waterdeep.
Probably also true.
Well, lead the way. Let's go do some investigation. And I will excitedly pull out my pipe and start puffing on it a little bit.
Okay. So you kind of make your way out into the alley and kind of into the streets around your manor here. You do find some flyers that have been kind of posted up around for the parade, kind of excitedly, declaring that the time of the twin parades is here, and to come one, come all, and all that good business. And it mentions that it starts on, let's see here. It sounds like it starts tomorrow, or that it happens tomorrow, in kind of the late afternoon into the evening. And in terms of the route that it goes, let me... let's see here. Is this the right one? One second. Okay, so it travels, if you do still have that Waterdeep East map up from before. It starts kind of down in the dock ward, which is not on that eastern map, and then comes up the high road all the way through the trades ward, and continues up the high road all the way through the castle ward, and then turns to the west, which is just off that map, and ends up at that kind of grand market, which you guys have been through a few times. That's just to the kind of southwest of your place. That's where the land side of the Twin Parade happens, and the other side is over in the harbor, the ships. At least from what you can glean, it seems like a lot of these kind of grandstands that are being set up around are kind of for the noble folk of Waterdeep. Can't really be down on the street with the peasantry, of course. And so these various grandstands are set up along the route for them to kind of mingle among themselves in kind of a raised area with better viewing of the proceedings.
Well, you could expect them to be on one of these, probably. This thing is happening tomorrow. Where do you guys think we should start asking around to find this guy?
Aren't we supposed to be looking for a handkerchief?
We gotta find the person with the handkerchief first to get the handkerchief, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we have to get
You're
a
killing me,
handkerchief from a
Mix.
specific person.
Yeah, it wasn't just go get a handkerchief.
Oh, sorry.
Well, maybe if there's anybody kind of setting up, or maybe it looks like they maybe are working on the parade, maybe they would know.
How
Fair
about we
assumption.
go in a textile shop and ask them?
Okay.
I'm following Jinku. You do whatever you want to do, Mix. I don't know what's going on in your head today, and I'll just kind of shake my head and walk off.
And I'll kind of look around to see if there's anybody like setting up the stands or doing something parade-like.
Sure. So Jinko, you kind of head to kind of a nearby. I mean, in order to get to like where the stands themselves are being set up, you head kind of a bit southwest of Troll Skull, kind of down towards the high road and the market part of town. And there seems to be kind of a greater concentration of these stands, kind of as you're kind of looking at like the market and the street leading right up to it. So it seems this kind of is a kind of a major center of the parade and of the route here. But you do walk up to one of the workers who's kind of working on stringing up kind of a little banner of sorts along the edge of one of these. And he kind of looks up as you walk up and says, "Well, excited for the twin parades?"
Yeah, it's my first one actually.
"Oh, it's a sight to see. I always enjoy seeing it every year. I couldn't help but get involved in some small way." He kind of happily continues kind of tacking up this little banner on the side of this kind of grandstand here.
So, tell us some more about this parade. Like, what should we expect?
Well, I mean, it's quite a fantastical parade. You almost have to ask for expect the unexpected almost. There's quite an array of magics and interesting works of creativity and art that they bring out into the street. It's quite a spectacle. It's almost a bit hard to describe.
Well, it sounds very exciting. I'll kind of nudge Boo, get him to talk. Jinko's an idiot. She doesn't know what to ask.
Say, sir, if one were to want to say thank or see the organizers of the parade during this event, is there any like special booth where all of the people who kind of behind this thing get together and watch it?
He kind of thinks for a moment and says, "Well, I mean, typically the organizers, when the parade comes up through the city at the end of it, it kind of, like all of the various exhibitions in the parade get circled up and kind of circle around the marketplace area. And so that's kind of the central part of it all at the end. And so usually in kind of the market square, typically near the hold on, let's see, typically near the great drunkard, where he sits. They typically are kind of near there. It's kind of the most recognizable part of the market there, and so they usually put them in that kind of section of prominence.
I see. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
I
And
mean,
I'll toss him a silver piece.
okay. He kind of gratefully catches it and kind of tucks it into his pocket and says, "Well, you know, it is good to certainly thank the organizers. I'm not sure how easy it will be to get up to them, though. They usually don't like to fraternize much with us regular folk. That's why they have us building these, after all. So you may not be able to thank them in person, but maybe you can wave at them from afar."
I could only hope to be so blessed as to just gaze upon their greatness. And I'm not like trying to hide my sarcasm too much at this. I have no love for royalty, the nobility, and the pompous asses that come from it.
This guy just seems kind of too happy to be doing his work and being part of the community. Really noticed your sarcasm. He thinks you're sincere. He kind of grins in response.
That's good. We would be sad if he knew that he brought someone down with his shitty attitude.
All right.
So, Jinko, it sounds like we need to go to Market Square during the parade tomorrow. That's where we're going to get this handkerchief. Now we need to figure out how, right?
Yeah. Yeah, how does one get somebody's handkerchief without arousing questions?
I don't know. Let's go round up the rest of the folks and see what ideas they can come up with.
This ought to be interesting.
So are you going over to the market right now, or going back to the?
I'll go back to the Troll Skull.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you make your way back over there, and kind of meet up with the rest of your group, kind of relaying the information that you had. Seems you have kind of bit of a more pinpointed location now to kind of scope out.
So, what do you guys think with that information?
So not only do we have to try to get close to him, but get his handkerchief.
Oh. You are trying to educate me on what a fancy handkerchief is, wondering if I have a fancy handkerchief.
Wait, what?
You are trying to educate me on what a fancy handkerchief is, and wondering if any of them might have a fancy handkerchief.
Yes, that is exactly what we are doing.
I don't think anyone has one though.
No, not us. These fancy parade people.
Yeah, we know they're going to be in the market square tomorrow during the parade, probably. So we got to figure out how can we approach them? How can we get close enough to get one of these perfumed handkerchiefs? Maybe we should go take a look and see what the grandstands and stuff are like over there.
I mean, that too, but I mean, if we go under the guise that, hey, our uneducated friend here doesn't know what this stuff is, do you have something we can show him to help his education?
I think if we told anyone that our friend didn't know what a handkerchief was, they would just laugh at us until we left.
Yeah, I don't think they'd really care.
It's worth a shot.
The nobles spare no love for peasants like us.
Let alone ignorance.
Okay, we go in, we kill him, we find the body with the handkerchief. Take this handkerchief.
Lassum, we're gonna be at a parade. Lots of people.
All right, I'll set a fire. You guys go in.
No more
Kill 'em.
fires.
I think
Yeah,
you
let's
forget
do this,
that
no
the
fires.
city has
Their
laws.
privileges are revoked. You're not even allowed to light a candle.
Light all the candles I want.
All right.
You're
So
not
you're
even allowed to play with a flint.
gonna go scope out the market.
Yeah, I think we need to get an idea of
Sure.
what they're gonna be sitting on.
Okie dokie. Let me get that pulled up here. So, you guys make your way over to the grand market here of Waterdeep, and you kind of make your way to the part of the street that's kind of in front of the Great Drunkard, one of the walking statues of Waterdeep, on the southern side. So, looking around here, almost kind of directly in front of the Great Drunkard, there's the tavern that's kind of sits among the Great Drunkard's legs. And right in front of that is a decently large grandstand. This one seems perhaps a little bit nicer than some of the other ones. It even has like a kind of an awning over it as well, to kind of give it some shade. Just because of the location that it's at, like the bizarre street that's right in front of Great Drunkard, it's a pretty wide street. It's one of the major streets of the city. On the northern side, you've got the market there, and there's these mostly single-story structures on the northern side. Those are all kind of shops and stuff that line the market there. And then the southern side of the street, you've got the Great Drunkard, the tavern in the Great Drunkard, and then most of the other buildings kind of along the rest of the block are all pretty tall, tightly packed buildings. Mostly like maybe 3, sometimes 4 stories tall. But there's kind of a courtyard in front of the Great Drunkard where all this is set up, with this grandstand here with the awning over it.
Fire.
No fire. Mix, Zyara, you guys got any ideas how we can pull this off?
Nothing's coming to mind.
Well, considering I thought all we had to do was buy a handkerchief, now we got to get it off somebody, spot this person, find them, and wait for them to pull out their handkerchief and see if they're not good at putting it back. And we just walk up and yank it out of their pocket and go.
Not good at putting handkerchiefs back in pockets.
Some people's fatal flaw.
That's great. Oh, jeez.
It's like your childhood naivete never left. Mix, don't ever change, my friend. And I'll pat Mix on the head.
Hey, remember who taught me everything?
I mean, at least like you got all these these buildings around here as well, and like between a lot of them, like I mean they are pretty tightly packed, but there's plenty of kind of alleyways and things that lead off here and there to the other parts of the block, and of course when this is actually going on, I mean you're going to have all the people at the grandstand. There's assumedly going to be people all over the sides of the street observing as well, and then of course the main event itself in the street. So there's quite a few. There's going to be quite a bit of activity is going to be going on around here.
What about a fake fire?
No. I do kind of
No,
have an
just-
idea.
Give me a fake fire. We get some
No,
soaking wet hay, and we throw it on
No.
a small fire so
No
it doesn't
fire.
spread.
Jinku,
But
Jinku, go ahead.
Blossom, be quiet. For once in my life, I have an idea.
Go, Jinku.
Maybe if we wait till like the parade is ending and people are starting to kind of leave, and we follow the person, and I don't know, maybe me, since I'm so big, could just like accidentally run into him on purpose. Like, oh gosh, excuse me. And, maybe that'd be enough to either distract him enough so somebody else can kind of steal his handkerchief, or maybe he'll drop it. That's all I got.
Okay.
how about we just kidnap the guy?
Blossom,
There are
I'm
laws
so close to punching you.
in Waterdeep, please keep in mind, that may bite you in the ass.
I mean, Jinku is kind of klutzy, so accidentally running into the guy could work.
Well, I've
Knocking him
got
over.
mage hand. Like, I could try, if you could distract him, I could use my mage hand to try and pluck it out of his pocket, maybe.
Might work even better if you're really drunk.
Mage hand. Oh yeah, that can like carry up to like what, like 30
Up to 5 pounds, yeah.
Oh yeah, and a handkerchief's not gonna be that heavy.
Unless it's really, really full of snot.
I hope not.
Me too.
5 pounds. Jesus Christ.
Because if we do that, then we don't have to try to figure out some lame excuse to get his handkerchief. It'll just be a complete accident.
So we get you drunk and you run into him.
We,
And
we
then-
don't even have to get me drunk. I'm already
Oh.
pretty clumsy.
It'll be believable. It'll be more believable if you're drunk.
Maybe take a few sips or swish some wine around in your mouth so it seems like you're a party goer.
No sips. Do you see the size of her? Try a few barrels.
Mitch just smacks Blossom upside the head.
And Jinku kind of playfully punches him in the arm.
Alright, so we got the mage hand option. That seems like a good possible route to go. Oh, and the bumping into him one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I can think of. I agree with Jinku. Should we try this tomorrow?
What are the well, which one which plan are you planning to enact?
Both of them. We're gonna have Jinku run into him to distract him, and try and mage hand the thing out of their pocket.
Okay.
Right? Does that sound like a good plan?
I think so.
And what are the rest of you going to be posted up doing? Well, Jinku is bumping and Boo is mage handing.
Yeah, someone tell me what to do. Otherwise, fake fire.
Maybe you should stay home with the kids.
I can do that too. They like my stories. They like fire.
Trust him with the kids.
I think the kids can probably keep an eye on him. I worry about somebody trying to take them
Yeah,
again.
better yet, shouldn't we be leaving someone with the kids, considering one of them almost got kidnapped here?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
now, until we can hire
Yeah.
like some mercenaries to guard them. Yes.
Or if Blossom's gonna go back and hang out with the kids.
Alright. Alright, so
Fire, hitting, mumble, bumble, blumble. Yeah.
So Jinku, Boo, you got stuff going on. Zara, Mix, what kind of things are you going to be adding into this or trying to assist with this?
I honestly don't know.
Well, I mean, you could do things. I mean, you're gonna have all these people around, and these nobles, presumably probably city guards as well. You might want to figure out some kind of surveillance, keeping an eye on that sort of thing. Um, how are you going to make your approach? What's the plan once you have the handkerchief in hand? The getaway car. Um, so, because it seems like you got the get out of pocket part, but you might want some more fleshed on the plan besides just the nabbing part for a successful pulling it off.
See, Boo's just down to grab this shit and then just run away. That's as far as Boo goes. I'm not wise. I'm intelligent. I'm not wise. So I figure I'm
Fair.
kind of dumb enough to I'm not street smart in this kind of stuff.
Jingo's actually just amazed that she came up with any idea.
We could have Jinko accidentally bump into the guy and then offer him a drink and spike it. Just watch him go floop and then take it.
I don't think we probably need to go that intense. I think just the
Yeah,
fact
because
of
someone will
running
notice.
into
You want to
him.
get this without
We
someone
still
noticing.
do have roofies available.
I think if we just if I have a drink in my hand and maybe we just pour a little on my clothes so it just it smells like I'm drunk, and I'll just use my natural hugeness to knock him over, and I will just act like I'm really sorry and just distract him with apology and trying to help him up, and that'll give Boo time to mage hand it. But yeah, we need to get away.
True. I mean,
And
Zara.
go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was gonna say, Zara, you've had some experience with the street life and the sleight of hand life. I don't know if you have any tips or things from your street knowledge that might come in handy here.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Is I don't know, maybe Zara trying to pinch it off of him might be better luck than my mage hand. I've got no training in this, and neither does my spell. You could try and nip it off of him,
I mean, I could.
maybe.
I mean, in theory, if I can get it off of him and we have your minion positioned in a way that I could hand it off and get it away.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, his name's Philip, and he would gladly, hang out in your pocket, and I'll send him over to, go bother Zyara for a while.
All right.
Then he could run it to me, and we could just run away as fast as we can. But we need to figure out. So are we going to approach it after the parade when he's leaving? Then is that the plan?
I think that would probably work best because then it wouldn't be that odd for a drunkard to run into him because there's just all these people trying to leave.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, I think that this is good. And then we should. Who's the fastest among us? That's who we should eventually get it handed off to at the end, so that just in case one of us goes down, we pull this off for your Harper friends. I can run about 30 feet in a few seconds.
Yeah, I'm at 30.
Yeah, I'm also 30.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the city is full of alleyways and side streets, so it's not too much of a concern in terms of distance, as long as you can duck into something and eventually make your way to the delivery point.
Mix murder anyone that follows us. Well, maybe not murder, just distract.
I have more distraction stuff that I never get to use, so I'm excited about this.
Okay, good.
I have a question. How fast do you think I could talk to the guy, get him to give me his handkerchief, and get back in the crowd and disappear?
Like, persuade him to?
A noble giving you the time of day? Look at your face. It's what only a mother could love, Mix. Why would a noble want to look upon you?
Boo. You know I have a spell called Friends where people become really friendly towards me.
Yeah, I recall you tried it on me recently.
Maybe we could use that as a backup if things start to go bad.
You're like,
Okay.
if we don't get it off of him, that could be our plan B. If Zyara doesn't get it off of him, you do friends and see if you can persuade him to do it.
That seems
I
good.
like that. I like having a plan B here.
By the way, I just was looking through my abilities,
Yeah.
and one of my features is my channel divinity invoke duplicity.
What's that do?
So I can use my channel divinity to create a illusory duplicate of myself, and it'll stay basically within my line of sight. Or, well, let's see. It will appear in an unoccupied space within 30 feet. I can move the illusion up to 30 feet as long as it is within 120 feet. I don't know if maybe that would be something to use. Like,
Yeah.
if I picked his pocket to get the handkerchief and invoked duplicity, and then I can disappear into a crowd while letting my duplicate walk around. That way, if I am noticed, they go after the duplicate and not me.
Well, maybe Zyara can kind of be with Jinku and maybe, I don't know if maybe like kind of scolding her for being so klutzy would kind of keep the attention on Jinku, so be a little bit more of a distraction.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we got a plan and a plan B.
All right. Sounds good. So you guys have been kind of discussing this among yourselves. You've been in this area here, kind of scoping things out, seeing how things are. Go away, little bug. And you guys are kind of making your way back to Troll Skull. The four of you roll perception for me as you're kind of just heading along the streets back towards your place. All right, so Jinku and Boo, as you guys are kind of heading back, like you pass by, like there's always kind of just guards around in various places. But as you're kind of passing by, you catch a conversation between a couple of guards as you're walking along, talking about a terrible fire that had happened down in the southern part of the city, and that there was some it sounds like there was like some loss of life perhaps, and that a few structures were destroyed, and that they were you know kind of discussing among themselves that they were sorry to hear that it happened, and that they hoped that the investigation into the proceedings uh, went quickly. And you kind of catch that in the air as you guys are going along.
Hey, if they come after us, I'm telling them it was that Blossom guy, right? Okay, you all agree. Good, good.
And no
So,
one
silence.
argued.
Yes, please take our silence as a yes.
No one really tried to stop me. That's considered encouragement.
I'm not sure what you remember. I'm fairly certain we all told you no.
I think we pretty much always tell you no when you say fire.
That is fair.
No. Sayar did not tell me no when we set that magic evil rug on fire.
Yeah, but that was like a last ditch effort.
No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
I did say no many times.
Whatever, and it
prior
did kind of
to
set
it
fire to
doing
that
it.
building too. So
Well, that one mostly just smoked it up. In the end, it didn't destroy the place. It just smoked it up quite a bit as you stuffed it up the chimney there.
Or cause damage to all of the neighboring houses and businesses.
Well, in any case, you make it back to Troll Skull. You've heard this guard conversation in passing, and keep that in mind. And you rest. Actually, let me actually give you guys a rest. 1 second. Everybody rest. All right, so that brings us to the next day, the day of the parade. Is there anything that you guys get up to in like the early parts of the day before this goes down, or are we just getting right to it?
Jinku is probably like gonna have a flask, get that ready, and probably kind of just dirty her clothes up a little bit just to kind of make herself look like a sloppy drunk.
Okay,
I can use prestidigitation to help with that.
there you go. Nice.
Mix is gonna get a horn of ale from behind the bar, and like a travel one that I could put on my belt, and I'm gonna go down and spike it in case I need it.
Okay. All right. So do you guys kind of make your way over to that market square area and kind of set yourselves up to, see the parade, of course, and what's going on with that, but try to keep an eye out for this guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So you make your way over to the market square, and like already, it's maybe midday at this point, and there's already quite a few people in the area, kind of these large crowds, kind of either trying to get a good spot along the street. There's already some nobles in various places in some of the grandstands as you're going along, but everybody seems to be kind of having a good time among themselves, kind of cheering, and there's food, there's drinking, there's kind of just in general enjoyment going on. And as the kind of late afternoon comes, like you guys have been kind of going around amongst the crowd here, you hear kind of in the distance down the high road, the kind of cheering grow louder, and it seems like the head of the parade is finally getting up to the market area. And you see, kind of coming around the corner onto the bazaar street off the high road, at the front of the parade, you see a march of the City Watch, kind of 8 abreast, 15 ranks deep, and they're arrayed in these very kind of ornate, formal uniforms, green and gold. This phalanx of the city guard leads this parade coming around the corner, and you can hear all the citizens cheering as they come by. Behind them, you see. Let me share a picture with you here. Behind them here, you see a procession of exotic animals being led by kind of a swashbuckling captain with this kind of rainbow feathered hat. There's like a caged owl bear. There's like a unicorn stamping its feet. There's like a woman with 3 legs leading some lucrata doing tricks. Jugglers, stilt walkers. The stilt walkers kind of lean kind of far out over the crowd, kind of handing out various kind of advertising bills. Mix, you have one get handed to you. It's kind of advertising a carnival or some this pier of wonders down in the dock ward. Seemingly the other end of the parade, there's some kind of festival carnival type thing set up down there. Among this parade, as they continue proceeding, there's a cannon, a rather large cannon that gets rolled up, and after a moment it pauses, and you can see the crowd kind of die down and quiet down in anticipation, and the cannon goes off with this loud explosion, and what looks to be a dwarf shoots out of this cannon forwards, over the top of a bunch of this procession, and gets caught in midair by 2 of these stilt walkers holding a net, and the whole crowd kind of erupts into this applause and cheering as this dwarf is caught and then lowered down. He's kind of waving to the crowd as you all go along. Next up in the procession, you see a pageant wagon. It's kind of set up like kind of a moving theater stage. You see a human woman who is kind of singing and kind of acting in some sort of musical. You weren't quite sure what the musical is, but at least from the lyrics that you hear, it sounds like it's about this daughter of a dwarf king that falls in love with a dark elf, and this stage, like part of it's kind of set up to look like the bow, like part of a ship is kind of built onto this pageant wagon, and at one point she's kind of up on the back of this ship, kind of continuing to sing this like love ballad from this musical, and again the crowd all seems to cheer excitedly as this is going on. As this passes by, it like stops for a moment in front of this kind of large grandstand here that you guys have been keeping an eye on, and they kind of go through, and kind of a man comes up onto the pageant wagon and begins kind of calling out various names and kind of gesturing in the direction of this grandstand. Some of the gesturing to some of the various organizers to stand, and the crowd is cheering as each of them stand up. And eventually he gets to Maester Roderick, and you can see him kind of send his hand. And of course, we have to extend our thanks to Maester Roderick for his generous contributions that keep our arts flowing in this city. And you see Maester Roderick, this kind of shrewd-looking man. He's got kind of a pointed beard. He's kind of wearing these kind of ornate, noble clothes. He's kind of sat kind of in the front center area of this grandstand. He kind of stands up and kind of does the the old parade wave to everybody around. The crowd goes wild. These people love the festivities. They love the spectacle of it all. And he sits back down. So you kind of what he looks like now. And the pageant wagon starts back up again and continues moving down the street. Behind it, it becomes a large mechanical beholder. It seems to be like made out of clockwork, and it seems to hover in the air with some sort of magic that kind of hums around it. And it kind of hovers over the crowd, kind of glaring about menacingly, like the eye that's in its socket kind of like goes back and forth across the crowd, and its like teeth kind of glare or kind of bare menacingly, and its its tentacles at the top kind of wave around. You can hear like the shouts of children as this goes by, being like ah, and people kind of laughing and enjoying this. And then you see a rather long chunk of the parade, and you see like there's a banner leading the front of them that reads as it is a joint presentation of the Temple of Gond and the House of Wonders. And the members of this House of Wonders, they have summoned these huge ribbons of water, and they're like moving them down the street. So you're like in the air, these gigantic ribbons of water are kind of flowing around the procession here, and then kind of over the crowd as well. And within these ribbons of water are these giant clockwork fish made of bronze, and they kind of swim in and out of these ribbons of water as they're being controlled over the crowd here. And it seems like the fish themselves are being controlled by a mechanical man made out of kind of burnished copper and wood. You can see him kind of on this pedestal in the center of this like swirling water and clockwork fish that's going on. And you can see its clockwork mechanisms in its chest, like they're constantly whirring and pistoning away under the wood etched or the rune etched plating that it has on it. And it seems to be kind of directing these fish around, commanding them to perform tricks, like flipping them from one stream to the other as they pass by. And eventually this mechanical man leaps up and he perches atop the snout of one of these bronze fish and is launched high into the air, where he does kind of a double flip off the end of it before splashing back down through one of the water ribbons. And the screaming and the cheering goes wild at this trick. And then one of the last things that comes up in the parade is an aerial dance troupe, it seems, of Everiels, which are winged elves, and Pegasus riders. And they kind of do this elaborate dance in the air above the street, kind of weaving among each other and making these kind of graceful dives down low quickly, and people gasping as they shoot down towards the cobblestone and then back up. And after this passes by, you can see that much of the rest of the parade has, you can kind of see in the distance, it's looped around this whole kind of market square. And you can see it just kind of very, kind of slowly, rotating its way around the market square. And as time goes by, eventually they just kind of all come to a stop and they continue doing their various acts here around this market. And this, this whole thing, goes on for several hours. You guys are here kind of watching this all, kind of enjoying the show, maybe having a bite to eat here and there among all of this. And, eventually after all of this has been stopped for a while, some of the processionals start to kind of, shut down and kind of end the parade. Some of the lights are starting to get put out. And it seems that the time for this has come to an end. Go ahead and make a perception check for me here, as you guys are kind of turning towards the grandstand here to keep an eye on your target.
This doesn't really bode well.
No, it doesn't.
So Mix, you do manage to see, among the crowds are kind of dispersing a bit. So there's, it's a bit tricky to keep an eye on things with the sea of people and magics and whatever else is going on around you right now. But you manage to pick him out of the crowd. You kind of see the kind of ornate clothes he had on. You recognize his pointy beard from when he stood up, and you see him kind of moving down out of the grandstand, kind of into the street, and he kind of starts heading kind of westward up the bazaar street, kind of slowly. There's lots of people around, so he kind of has to make his way through the crowd, but he seems to be heading in that direction.
I'm gonna nudge everybody and get them moving towards him.
Okay.
Jinku, Zara, you're up. Let's do this.
And I'll pull my flask out and open it.
All right. So, Jinku, Zara, you two kind of make your way towards Maester Roderick here. And let's see. Let's see here. Both of you do a performance check for me as you're kind of coming up on him. You guys are kind of kind of laughing to each other, kind of kind of hamming up this.
Nat 20, baby.
Nice. So you two are kind of hamming it up with each other. Uh, Jinku's trying her best to look as drunk as she can, but Zara's kind of making up for it pretty well, kind of making it seem like you two are some old friends that have had a night on the town, and you kind of lurch in his direction, and Jinku, you kind of bump into him from behind, and you kind of hear him go, "Oh!" and he kind of stumbles forward and kind of catches himself on the ground with his hands. Seems that you've knocked him over onto the ground.
Oh my God, sir! I am so sorry. Oh, I'm such a klutz. I'm so sorry. Oh, this happens all the time. Please let me help you. And I'm gonna try to continue to be as klutzy as possible, trying to help him.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get you on your feet. And I guess now is when I try and pick his pocket.
Okay. So Jinku, roll another performance check for me as you're kind of interacting with this guy, trying to be like, oh. Okay. So you continue kind of acting this, and I mean, for trying to pretend to be a drunk, I mean, you certainly seem like a drunk. It doesn't take too much skill to look like that. And go ahead and roll a sleight of hand check for me, Zyara, as you kind of reach towards him here. So you kind of see in one of the kind of the side pockets of this kind of robe that he's wearing, you see kind of a deep blue handkerchief kind of poking out of it. And as Zyara's kind of helping him up here, you get this kind of waft of perfume from that direction. So it seems this may be the one you're going for. And you kind of deftly sneak your hand in there and whip it out of the pocket without, really any resistance at all. It seems that nothing was noticed in that process. Jinko, you help him up the rest of the way. You're kind of patting him on the back there as he kind of dusts himself off. And he kind of looks up at you, Jinku. He looks a little frustrated that he got knocked to the ground, but he also kind of sees how large you are and doesn't really want to cause any trouble. And he's kind of like, "Oh well, it's okay. It'll wash out, I guess."
Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. I do hope you can forgive me, and I really hope this doesn't ruin your evening.
No, that's fine. I mean, we already had the best part of the evening already. That's quite all right.
Oh, yes, it was a wonderful parade.
Zara, what are you doing at this point?
Probably holding on to Jinku and just apologizing to him, like, yes, we're so sorry. She usually doesn't drink this much, but she wanted to celebrate, so it went straight to her head. We should get out of here and leave this lovely gentleman to his evening.
And he kind of smiles curtly in your direction and just kind of nods very slightly. Says, yes, of course. Well, I hope you enjoyed the festivities. And he kind of turns away and kind of continues moving up the street. So, Zara, you have the handkerchief of this guy. What's next?
Where are we supposed to drop it off again?
So the message that Jinku had gotten, you're supposed to drop it off to a tiefling girl that lives in a crate at the corner of Net Street and Dock Street, which is way on the other end of town in the Dock Ward.
Okay. So I guess I'll pull on Jinku's arm and be like, let's casually get out of here so we can try and get down to the drop-off point.
Okay.
So
All right.
I guess we leave the area.
All right. So as you as you guys are kind of, stepping away and heading off, Boo, Mix, both of you give me a perception check real quick. Okay. So Jinku and Zara, you two have kind of moved out of sight and down the street a ways. And both of you, Boo and Mix, as you guys are turning away to kind of join up with the rest of the party and head down to that part of town. You do see him in the distance, kind of seemingly kind of patting himself over a bit. But he doesn't seem to. You see him pat himself over for several moments, and you see him kind of pause and kind of scratch his head. Then you see him kind of wave his hand and go like, and kind of continue walking away down the street. All right, so you guys managed to make it all the way down to the dock where without too much incident. As you guys, continue through the southern part of town, there's still there's still people around, kind of hamming up the festivities all along the way. Through the trades ward and down to the dock ward. You do notice, as you're kind of passing through the trades ward, to the east of you, there seems to be a fairly large kind of hazy cloud of smoke to the east of you in the trades ward as you kind of head through that part of town. Which seems to kind of sour the air a bit in the area, but you do manage to make it down to the dock ward and find the the intersection of Net Street and what was it, Dock Street, and you see this kind of young tiefling girl, looks to be maybe around like 20 or so. Kind of sitting on this crate on the corner where these streets meet. And as you kind of walk up towards her, she kind of looks in your direction and says, "Well, have you got it?"
I take out the handkerchief and extend it to her.
Okay, so you hand this handkerchief over to her, and she kind of takes it in her hands and kind of turns it over a few times. Takes a real good whiff of it, and the perfume that's on it. Says, "Well, that's just lovely. I'm sure the Harpers will thank you. Thank you." And she kind of hops down off her crate and kind of runs off down the street into the night.
The Harpers kind of give us strange jobs, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they want with a perfumed handkerchief.
I ain't gonna judge them.
Hey, thank you for... Hold on, let me see. I saw somebody followed, but I can't see who it was. It won't tell me.
Dun 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 dun.
It disappeared too fast. Whoever that was, I thank you. But
It was a ninja.
It was a ninja. All right, well, I think at that point, this would probably be a good spot to end for tonight with that little mini heist under your belt successfully completed. And some... Oh, it's Stormblood. Hey, Stormblood. So we thank you all for coming by. And we'll see what we get up to next time and what, consequences may await your actions.
Oh, boy. All right.
I love that we put more planning into stealing a handkerchief than interrogating the people that stole our child.
That is a good point.
Well, that didn't quite go as planned. I was expecting to spend, quite a long time on
You
that.
didn't even try!
I was gonna leave the room. I wanted Blossom to go in there and roar and scare him.
All right. Actually, let me check. Is there anybody else?
The crazy bastard lit the place on fire.
Anybody else
No,
streaming right now?
he is a crazy bastard.
No. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and call this good. So to all you out there watching, thanks. You have a good one. See you next time.